In the first Trump term, when the Trump administration was separating little kids from their moms and dads at the border, attorney Lee Gallant was leading the fight in court against those policies, and he has since for years. He's still in the lead today when the Trump administration ordered that another plane full of men should be shipped from Texas off to a prison in El Salvador. It was Lee Gallant and his team who rushed to 3 different courts in the span of 5 hours to stop them, and they stopped them. Joining us now is Lee Gallant. He's Deputy Director of the ACLU's Immigrant Rights Project. Mr. Gallant, Lee, it's really nice to see you. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Thanks, Rachel.
So we just showed footage that we got from Reuters of men at the Blue Bonnet Immigration Prison in Texas out on the yard at that facility spelling out SOS with their bodies. It's really dramatic. This happened on Monday. Reuters published these images today. We know the court has ordered that people in that facility who are part of the lawsuit you brought can't be sent out of the country. Are you worried that those men are at risk of being sent out of the country right now?
So right now, they are not, because the Supreme Court still has the case. We're waiting for the Supreme Court to rule. The initial ruling was a temporary, what's called an administrative stay. The Supreme Court's going to rule, we expect fairly soon, and we'll see what happens. We're hoping that the Supreme Court says they cannot be removed and says something that covers the whole country, because what we've been dealing with is the government moving people all around the country trying to avoid judicial review. So wherever we get an injunction, they go to somewhere else. So we're now in 6 different courts in the country. We've told people we're willing to file in as many places as necessary, but ultimately we hope to get the case to a point where there's one ruling covering the whole country and people can't be removed based on a wartime authority during peacetime, especially without notice. I mean, the most dramatic thing that's happened is the government now said they're not even going to give the 24 hours notice. They reduced it to 12 hours, and they tried to keep that secret from all the courts around the country, including the Supreme Court. They're saying that's reasonable notice, 12 hours to figure out for these men in detention what they're going to do.
Lee, the men who have already been sent to El Salvador, who are there now, with having never seen a judge, having no hope of any judicial review while they're there, the government of El Salvador brags that nobody ever gets out of that facility, which is a remarkable thing to be bragging about, given that there was no process in deciding who went there. What are the hopes now for the men who are there now? Not just Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who's in a different prison now in El Salvador, but all the men who are in that terrorism prison. What are the hopes that any of them will be brought back?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked about that, Rachel, because we're fighting on 2 tracks. One is to not have anybody else sent, but the other is to get the men who were sent there, because there's no question at this point that they were sent without being able to see a judge, without being able to contest that they were even gang members. And we now know from the evidence that's emerging that many of these people had no ties to gangs. Maybe it's going to turn out none of them did. We have filed another case in D.C. to try and get those men back. And what we're saying is they were sent there unlawfully. There's no question that they're in the constructive custody of the U.S. As you've pointed out before, we are paying for that detention. They're being held in that facility at the behest of the United States government. No matter what the administration wants to say, there's no question that if we ask for the men back, we get them back. So we're hoping that a judge says they have to be brought back. And the U.S. Supreme Court has already said Abrego Garcia, the government has to facilitate that return. The government's stonewalling that. We are asking another court about the 130 plus people that were sent, the Venezuelan men, under the Alien Enemies Act that night of March 15th.
Lee Gallant, Deputy Director of the ACLU's Immigrant Rights Project. I don't know if we'll ever have the power to clone adult humans so they can just double their work. But if we ever gain that capacity as a species, I'm going to line you up first as the first man who needs to be doubled because of all the work that you are doing for the country right now. Lee, thank you for your time tonight. Good luck.
Thanks, Rachel.
All right, we'll be right back. Stay with us.